Good morning, everybody. Now, as you can see, it looks like I'm sat here with a black box. Sarah's trying to join the show, and I don't know. We're trying to talk in private chat to see if she can see me. No, she just sees two circles. I think she might need to. Restart. Can you actually hear me now, Sarah? Can you actually hear the show go live? That's my next question to you. It looks to me like there's a bit of an internet error there because you don't seem to be appearing. Well, this could be an interesting one. Anyway, I can see I've got people joining us in watching live. Good morning to you. So this is Friday. Oh, she's gone. It's Friday, the 15th of December, the last show of the week. And then we're back with 3 shows next week. Bringing us up to, I think, a well-deserved Christmas rest. I, for one, am really feeling the need to just really put my feet up and enjoy myself. So please do let us know where you are listening in from, and also if you've got some thoughts about coming into South. So this is one of the themes that's been coming up quite a lot for me over recent weeks. I've been working with a lot of clients, but I've also been taking some time for me. So I've been working with different I can see it coming in again, but there's no photo. Oh, Sarah, where are you, my love? It's a mystery. Yes, I've been working with a really good hypnotherapeutic person who uses subliminal techniques and his own design techniques. In fact, you've seen him on the show. His name's Vinny. Then we've also got lovely Scott Clover, who I've done some work with. He's been on the show. Sarah, who's hopefully going to appear in a moment or two. She's really, really great at crikey, it's like Piccadilly Circus in here. I've got a cat coming in. Someone's left the door open. I can hear Carl crashing and bashing in the background doing washing up. That's good, isn't it? But not the crashing and bashing. So Sarah does access consciousness, or has used some access consciousness techniques, and I've had a lovely facial from her as well. So it's been a time of getting really up straight about, who are we and what are we about? And, I think when you go into that healing space, anything is possible, So I wonder what it's been like for you. Have you been doing things? I can see I'm just getting some messages from Sarah. She's saying, I'm going to go out and come back. I have no idea what's going on. I've just seen the screen with our 2 squares. The bottom says you're in the show. Everyone can see and hear you, but I don't see you either. Well, I am definitely live. It'd be helpful, actually, if somebody who's watching could just let us know that you can see me and hear me. That would be helpful. So, have you been going through your own journey of self? If so, what have you noticed? So for one of the things that has really been coming up for me has been the idea of where have I constructed a mask for myself? And so one of the things I've been examining a lot is, what happens when the mask you create for yourself kind of takes over and you stop being yourself. The whole idea that, we have a multitude of different masks and personas that are being playing out. But what happens when they take too much energy and then they take you off in a particular direction? So I've been really sort of examining what masks I've been wearing. From a personal note, seeing as I'm on my own, the only material I've got is literally me. Talking personally, my relationship to motherhood is changing quite a bit, and that's freeing me up to do a whole load of new stuff. So, our littlest doesn't really need as much attention or help or assistance. He's really in a little boy stage now. He's really out of the toddler stage. Finally stopped breastfeeding, and that's been a really big journey for me. I've breastfed from one child to another, right the way through pregnancies. And so it's been a really interesting journey. But I realized there's something kind of magical about motherhood from the way we did it. Because I don't want to say what we were doing and then say that that's the only magical way and, other people are doing it wrong, because that's not what I'm saying at all. But in becoming a mum and nursing from home, I was able to take a step away from who I felt I had been for a really long time. Oh, this is looking a little bit more promising now. I can see, oh no, she's come back in, but okay, let's see if she can load up this time. What I noticed was this softness arriving for me. I stepped out of formal work. For those of you that know, I had a 20-year history of working as a facilitator and trainer for banks, insurance companies. In the end, I had my own business where I would go and present to lots and lots of different corporations and stuff around Northern Europe. And so stepping out of that and allowing myself to be cared for whilst also caring for children was a really interesting mask. I'm wondering if Sarah can hear us. See if I can unmute her mic. No, she's muted. Sarah, if you can hear us, are you able to unmute your mic? We might be able to do this without your actual video, but maybe just with your audio. Yeah, so I don't know if any of you have actually experienced that yourself, where you have had a role for a really long time and then suddenly really changed. So for me, the whole idea of stepping out of the work persona that I had very carefully constructed around myself was really quite an effort. My identity was totally wrapped up in, going from business to business, wearing a power suit, standing up and answering questions and being of assistance. And then all of a sudden there was a certain glamour to it, although it wasn't very glamorous. It was well paid. People were relieved when you turned up, and it was good fun. It was one of those jobs I could do that was quite corporate, but bloody good fun. I could have a good laugh and I wouldn't have to work so hard with everybody, on a day by day basis. I could kind of swoop in, have a riot, kick up a bit of a storm, sort of monitor some feedback and then go somewhere else. I also used to teach at college, which was a bit more intensive. But yeah, there was I really appreciated that persona. So becoming a mum and really sitting in motherhood and not being seen, not being recognized other than the kids, which is great. There's nothing like that either. It was a real experience that I struggled with for many years. And then I got really, really used to. So what I've been uncovering for myself in these last few years is the sort of in-between stage. I have been back working for the last 6 years or so, but intensely in the last 3, where I've been doing, oh, here she is. I've been doing pretty much a full-time job and also trying to build things on the side. So it's been intensive, a lot of things to unpack. Anyway, let's bring Sarah on now. Hello, my love.
Wow, I deserve it after all that, don't I?
Yeah, and you look beautiful. So you do look quite magical there. Well, I was just trying to fill some space, not knowing what the hell I was going to say, but sharing something a little bit about how we wear masks, and we cultivate our masks, don't we? Because, thank you, love. Because life maybe puts us in a role, or we put ourselves in a role, and life kind of sucks us up. And then we start to become that role, and we start to operate from the role that is described for us. Or, it's almost like the role doesn't really exist. There's life, there's you, and there's this bit in between, which is your role, which is your interface, maybe. So I was kind of explaining or trying to talk from my own experience about the shifts that I've been through since I've met Carl, really. coming out of full-time work, then going into full-time mum mode, and then trying to navigate the two, which actually has been the most tricky, I have to say.
Yeah.
Where do you want to start with this conversation of self versus not self, and coming back into self, etc.?
I guess I always put a little bit of thought into. I hope the sound is okay. I'm just
You
using my
sound
cell
great.
phone. My computer wouldn't seem to let me on. um, I think it starts. I was thinking about this somewhere along the line, and this is just why we morph into something that we're not sure if it's us or if it's a role that we're playing. And in fact, one of Carl's guests, Mama Bear, said this week about we need more souls, not more roles.
Ooh, that's so good.
I loved it. Like see somebody's soul and not their role. And I mean, think about that. What are all the roles that everybody's playing? And I mean, role is acting.
Yeah.
And why do we act differently than we would like to? Because we want to fit in.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I was thinking about, I don't know where this came out of. I remember when I was a kid. I mean, when you fit in somewhere and when you don't, you can feel it. And it's not necessarily a bad thing because you don't fit in. That's the other thing that people have to remember. Not fitting in doesn't mean you're wrong. But for me, I was thinking about everyone in school. Now I'm going way back. Okay, so let's say like I'm in first grade, and I am this wild kid with scrapes and bruises and scabs all over their legs because I go out in the woods all the time and climb trees. My hair's all like, I was a little bit. I was active, we'll say. So then I'm in grade 1 and everyone's going into brownies. I don't know if they have that in the UK. But it's
they do. I managed to skip brownies, but I did Girl Guides.
Lucky you. Oh, you went straight to Girl Guides. Okay.
Yeah, I kind of just wish I hadn't bothered with either, but
right. So I just, and this is one of the first places where you're sitting in a group and you're with a group of girls in brownies, and you're sitting there with your leotards on or your tights that are sagging down to the knees because they're so, they never really fit properly, did they? And they start talking about, you'll see all of these different girls, and then you see the ones that get the approval of the leader.
Yes.
Right. So you're sitting in the circle, and maybe Michelle will say, and she's got like 37,000 badges that
all
she
really
earned.
neatly sewn on her arm.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that her mother did.
Yeah.
And put them on. And anyway, I just remember one day they were talking about brushing your hair. And my mom always used to, she'd say to us while she was like, my hair was, I could have brushed my own hair. I would rather have brushed my own hair. But anyway, she would brush my hair and she'd say, look at all the rats in your hair, she would say. And it was just an expression that she used that I heard all the time. So I didn't know nobody else knew it. So I'm sitting there in this circle, and they're saying, and what happens when you don't brush your hair? And I said, well, you get rats in it. And then everybody started laughing. And I don't know if I really cared that much, but I was just like, wow, this is weird. This is different. But I did care. I did care. And then it was like, okay, I have to watch what I say.
Yeah. Okay. Hence the start of a different self or a different role. Is that right?
Yeah. It's just an example of, okay, I'm sitting here in a group, or I'm with a group, or I'm even with one person. I'm with this one person. I put the feelers out, to see, what does this person expect from me?
Yeah.
And then once I get that, then it's okay. Now I know what they expect from me. This is if I'm really looking into seeing, okay, Who am I talking to here, and what is it that they expect from me? What group am I sitting with here, and what do they expect from me? So this is what we do, that kind of throws us into being the not self.
Mm-hmm. That's a really beautifully articulated and it's a beautiful story as well. I can actually see
Even
it.
rats and all. Rats and all.
Yeah, I mean, we Cole's got the phrase like, oh, have you brushed your hair? What, with the leg of a chair? You know, because
With the what?
leg of a chair. And my mum used to say, "Oh my God, you look like you've been dragged through a hedge backwards." So the hair thing's quite an interesting one. We're joined by Owen this morning, who is saying hello, ladies, followed
Good
by
morning.
never been a scout or guide, but I've always been a brownie. Thank you. Can you hear Carl in the background laughing, cackling? That's so good. And you make really good ones as well,
Yes,
Owen.
love it.
I love your chocolate volcanic eruptions. You know, they're really like the ones that you eat. Oh, I still need to clarify that.
Hey, it's Friday, Louise. Anything goes.
Yeah, I mean, Carl always says it's sexta. It's the only day with sex in it, you know, because it's sexta-feira in Portuguese. Owen, you need to write down what those cakes are called. I've referenced that I've left hanging there like some kind of naughty kink. But anyway, yeah, it's a really good description. And I would challenge you. Well, not challenge you.
Go ahead. Come on.
No,
I love it.
I think you already had created some not self before then. There'd have been moments where you're like, oh, do I have to fit in here? Okay, what do I need to do to survive? And then, you know, lovely little you would have come up with a gazillion possibilities of different survival methods, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just confirming it's chocolate molten cake.
Thank goodness. Thank you, Owen, for clarifying that.
Viv's joining us as well with the bon dia. Lovely.
Bon dia.
Bon dia, back to you, my sweetheart. So yeah, go on then. And Carl's coming in with his not self. So good.
Oh, you know what? That's a great way to describe the not self, because what does every muscle in your body do when you're being that?
Yeah, it knots up. I think he's referring to the hair as well, like the knotty hair.
Oh yeah. Well, and the naughty hair and the naughty girl, you know.
Oh, naughty.
Oh yeah. No, it's just here's the thing.
Go on.
There's no problem relating to other people, and there's no problem making a situation comfortable for everybody. I think that's what we do when we're communicating with people. Like, you know, I think it's just when you're sacrificing who you are to create that comfort, that's not including you, first of all. Like, it's their comfort, not you. It's sort of your comfort, because then you get to be seen as nice or, you know, but you don't know how long you're going to have to keep doing that for. Like, how many more times are you going to be in that group or with those people, or in that situation where it's like, when is it going to end? Because once you start, now you have to keep it up. Like, it's like a lie. You know, if you tell a lie, you have to do a lot of work to maintain that lie.
It is a huge lie. I was trying to write that down as you were speaking whilst looking straight at you. So
well done.
It's really messy. I love that. So when you're sacrificing yourself or who you are for your own comfort and for other people's comfort, then you've created a lie about yourself. You're living a lie. And how do you know when it ends? And does it end?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're living that way, and that is the most important thing to you, because once we lie, we've got to really do a lot of, it's a lot of work to keep it up. So let's say I wanted somebody to think I'm a little Pollyanna, and
Yeah.
and maybe they met me the first time, they're like, oh, she's a little, I don't know if I could pull it off, but let's just say you want to come across a certain way to somebody because you think that that's what's going to make them see you in the best possible light.
Yeah.
And maybe they do. And then they're like, oh, I want to make more plans with this person because she's just so fabulous. Like, or, a date, if you're dating someone, and same thing, any relationship at all, where you come across a certain way, you're saying, this is who I am. And then you have to keep it up.
Yeah.
Or else then you're a liar, but you lied the first time.
Yeah. And that happens at the start of every relationship. I mean, if we're lucky, at some point, there's an acknowledgement that, yeah, maybe we're not all as clean and shiny as we look when we meet someone for the first time. And over a matter of months, that sort of often gets whittled down, doesn't it? But I know Carl had a relationship with someone he hadn't seen without makeup on.
Oh.
Quite some time, which is quite unusual, isn't it? Like, huh?
My mum.
Oh, he's saying it's his mum. Yeah. And of course, we learn that from Masters of Disguise, our parents, because our parents are already doing that, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing is, if something seems too good to be true, it probably is.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean you have to go around looking for like what's wrong with it, what's the disguise everybody's wearing, because it'll come out on its own anyway.
Yeah.
You can date somebody and go on 3 or 4 dates and think, oh, this is going really well. I really like this person. They're ticking off all the, the boxes. And then you could be with them in the restaurant and hear how they treat one of the servers. And you're like, oh, there you are.
Yeah. That's happened. Yeah. I've experienced that and never seen them again.
So I guess the point is if we could save ourselves a whole lot of trouble, just trying to be more authentic right from the start. And it's easier to lose somebody before you get attached to them than it is after you're already attached to them, because then you can't make a good decision to save your life,
That's
once you're attached.
Advice. That's really, really good advice.
It's just really like, and we know there's a little voice inside that says, something's not quite right here, or your intuition. So I'm talking about both sides of this.
Yeah.
Can you tell, Louisa, when somebody isn't being real, do you think?
Do you know what? As intuitive as I think I am, I don't think I can always.
Do you think that people are mostly good?
Yeah. I do think that.
Yeah.
I take most people at face value. And it's only in recent years when I've got a little bit crankier and a little bit more suspicious. And then I feel like, ooh, kind of like really thinking it through from a slightly different perspective. But, talking about being all Pollyanna and sort of over-optimistic. I've actually spent a lot of my life like that. I guess.
Has it been fun?
Well, it's definitely been a ride. It's been interesting. It's been great fun. I've met loads of really great people, and I've seen loads of great countries. And I think it does help to have a sort of can do, will do, collaborative attitude. And so I've always done very well, really, in terms of connections. However, there have been there are some people that I've had around me that I've had a funny instinct with. I felt something doesn't quite add up. But my desire to believe that the world is right and good and everything overrides that. So
And you know,
I have a vision, and
I
I have
think
to listen at
that's
my peril.
good. Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I just completely there was something that you said there that really, and I've lost it. I can't remember what it was now. But, and I can't get it back. So I'm going to have to skip over it.
Well, no worries. I mean, I think what I was really saying is, for me, I think it's helped to just be naturally open and accepting and friendly. When I meet people, I tend to like them.
And that's, I remember what it was, and I'm sorry I'm interrupting you so I can say
go on.
it. But I think there's a difference between who we are and an attitude that we have.
Okay.
And I mean, I think that going forward with things with the best attitude we can possibly have, and that some of that I'm feeling is a bit of an attitude or a viewpoint on life. And then there's the stuff where I think when you do something and you feel good about it, I don't think that's not self. I think it's not self when it's like we hear that little voice inside, or we're like, it doesn't feel good. So you truly are somebody who sees the glass half full.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's just because it's positive and some people don't see it that way. I don't think that that's inauthentic at all about you. It's an attitude that you have.
Yeah.
And it's helpful.
Well, I mean, it has been, I guess, everything's up for review, isn't it? And
yes.
and so what's been helpful for me up till now has worked, but in recent years I've noticed that it hasn't worked quite so well. So you know, when I started off being kind of very open and wanting to transact with people, you know, like, I mean, life is a transaction, isn't it? You know, we're like communicating from person to person. I haven't really adapted my openness with sensibility in terms of transacting in a digital world. That's a whole new ball game. And, you know, having a broad brush approach, yes, you can trust everyone, it's not applicable here. I realize that a lot of people use the internet to actually take their frustrations out on each other. Let me just say hello to Maria quickly. Hello. Bon dia, Maria.
Hi, Maria.
Yeah, I noticed that some people like the way they use the internet because they're not being observed. No one's judging them necessarily.
Right.
People can have, you know, if somebody wants to let off steam and try and create crap for somebody, they can do it really easily.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
there's no repercussions.
Yeah.
There's no repercussions for them. It's like other than, you know, the dark cloud that's going to follow them around for doing it. Like, at the end of the day, we're accountable.
Yeah.
And it just feels so nice when you can be yourself. And like when you're with somebody and you can, like I actually wrote this down that was good. Like, so we want to be around people that will celebrate our successes.
That's nice, isn't it? Yeah.
So they'll celebrate our successes. If you're around people that aren't celebrating your successes, I mean, why? We want people who will basically commiserate with our failures without letting us off the hook. You know, so they'll sit with us and say, oh, you know, that sucks, or whatever it is we need. So, and then also people that are aiming up, people that are doing things. You know, they're not trying to say, well, why are you doing that? You know, or if you decide you want to quit, you know, drinking or smoking, or if there's anything that you're trying to do, they're not trying to sabotage that because they're still doing it.
Yeah.
So those three things.
That is really lovely, actually. I've been thinking, it's interesting that you're writing about what you want in friends. I've been thinking about what I want in clients. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
spend a lot of time working. And so I was thinking, okay, what if we could actually design our client list? And of course we can. And it hadn't really
Yeah.
occurred to me before.
Yeah.
And like, this is one area where I realized that being optimistic and open could have its drawbacks, because, a lot of the people I work with, I've never met before in person.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I haven't even had a video call with them. They might just send me some information for me to work and process remotely. And it hadn't occurred to me that that could be a massive red flag, but it could be. You could. I mean, I guess if somebody pays me, I'll, or I have done up till now. I've just done the work that's been required, and I've done it with a good open heart. But people could just be wasting my time and just like throwing some money just to have a bit of fun and have a bit of mischief. But I was thinking, yeah, okay, if I, rather than having this open door policy of, yeah, you want astrology, come get it,
Mm-hmm.
actually I could start to put up a bit of a rope between us, like at a nightclub where you have to come in on invitation. And so I was thinking,
Mm-hmm.
well, who would I actually really want to be working with if I could do that? And I realized I wanted somebody who could look at themselves, face themselves, who could laugh, who could like see the hilarity of all the pickles that they got themselves in. Somebody who was quite fearless, wanted to talk, somebody that was challenging themselves and possibly going through a big change. They're rising up. So, what I realize is I'm less suited for people that are wanting to
Stay
stay
in
the
their
same.
misery.
Yeah. Yeah. People that want to have the same problem again and again and again.
Yeah.
Not very well suited to them. Not anymore.
Well, some of the stuff that you do, I mean, are you required to know that?
No, but I just like with the big work I do, I realize
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
only want to work with people that I'm going to feel really enlivened by, because
Yeah.
if I'm feeling enlivened, they're going to get better
Oh
product
yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
And you were talking about like, well, if you're thinking about your friends, you need to make sure you've got the best around you.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be loads of coaches and astrologers that are really happy to dive into all the misery.
Like, you absolutely can choose the type of clients that you want to work with.
Yeah.
And I used to call it their avatar clients. Like,
Yeah.
if I could like paint a picture of the type of client that I get the most out of, and then they get the most out of it.
Yeah.
It's like where I can be successful because I am so in alignment with this type of client.
Yeah.
So you can absolutely do that. You're a specialty shop.
Yeah.
You're a place where you can choose that, and then you can once you choose it, they'll show up.
Yeah.
So you can even I mean, there's the sort of thing where there's a pool where a lot of people are doing some of it, and there's nobody that really stands out. But what you do, you really stand out. Like, you're an expert in what you do. You really are. And so because you're an expert, you can choose. You can choose and say, I work with not to make yourself like above or below anybody,
No.
but just that because of that expert level, there's all kinds of people that they can go to if they're not, there's other people that do what astrology, and maybe they only want, the kind of astrology that you don't offer.
Yeah.
And that might be all they really want.
Now, what we're describing here, like, I mean, the title for this, Self on the Shelf, which is my kind of rubbing salt into the wound of the elf on the shelf, who I absolutely test.
We'll never get over it.
The idea that, first of all, that people make money from, selling these things at stories about spying on the kids, so that kids, I mean, if ever there was something designed to create not self in children, it's the elf on the shelf, isn't it? Because kids think, oh, he's reporting back to Santa. He's going to tell Santa I've been a naughty girl. Ooh. So the kids are like good as gold for the month leading up to Christmas.
Do you really think they are because of that elf?
No. But I guess it could be used as a tool to torture your kids. But like, this is what we do. We have our self on the shelf.
Well, see, the way this relates is you get to choose. This is your life.
Mm-hmm.
This is your career.
Yeah.
This is how you earn your living. And this is how you also add to your life and living.
Yeah.
With the work that you do. I mean, hopefully that's what we can do with the work that we do. We're doing something we really enjoy doing.
Yeah.
And if you're thinking, I mean, I had clients like this where the night before I knew I had somebody booked and I'd be like, oh God.
Yeah. I mean, is that when you're in a business that is not you?
Yeah.
Or
it's not necessarily that the business is not you, but that you are at the stage where you're going to start creating, these are the people that I'm going to do this for.
Mm-hmm.
So absolutely saying, this is my ideal client, or this is my avatar client. These are the people that I can help.
Yeah.
Because if the reason that feeling comes in is like, it feels like you're not really helping that person. Yeah. Either they're not ready to change. They're not at the stage where they come to Louisa.
Yeah.
They're maybe at a different stage, or maybe they'll never be at that stage. But if it feels like shit, then don't do it.
Yeah. And isn't that funny? Because that's usually the definition of when you're in the wrong relationship. I mean, fair enough. We all have these moments where we go up and down and then we go, God, this is really shit. How much longer? But, sometimes we can come back into balance. It is normal to have those ups and downs. But if it's feeling shit all the time, then there's a massive clue, isn't there?
Well, that's your sign to say, okay, what am I being here that's not me? Because the only reason we feel like crap is because we're not being ourselves.
Can you give me that question again? What am I being that's not me?
What am I being here that's not me?
That's very powerful.
And why does it feel, I mean, if you have to bend and fold and staple and curl and do all of this to yourself to be around somebody, whether it's a working person or a relationship, there's your sign. Yeah. And if somebody's going to be mad or upset or not happy, why are you always picking yourself?
Yeah. Well, many of us feel like that in our families, don't we?
Yeah.
That we're contorting ourselves into a different shape. That's why this time of year is often so traumatic for people.
And the other thing is, it doesn't, yes, once in a while we do have to bend a little, and maybe just to have a pleasant experience, but it's just, how long is it going to last? You have to have one foot in the self when you're dipping one into the not self, so you can get along with other people. Always make sure you come back to who you are. Do something to recenter. I know, I mean, it can take a week or two, sometimes a month, to get over like a family, a big gathering. For people, it really can.
Yeah.
Because they'll trigger all these things in you, and nothing will pop you into the not self more than a good trigger.
Oh yeah. Carl's put something interesting in there. We are working with each other's work in progress, the reveal of the not self. So that's I mean, he's really, I think, agreeing with you there. And that's why it's okay to bend and flex a little bit, because we're all doing that for each other.
Yeah, and like I said, of the three things, you want people who will celebrate your successes. You want people who will commiserate with your failures without letting you off the hook. So if you're talking to a friend and you're like, oh, look, this is what just took place, or this is this thing that I'm not happy about, then they can say to you, I mean, you can say, are you really being yourself in that situation?
Oh my God, that's such a transformative question, isn't it?
And it covers everything. Are you really being yourself in that situation? And
because it doesn't really occur to people on a day-to-day basis. Oh, I'm
no.
not really being myself. Although a lot of people say, oh, I don't feel like myself today. But I don't think
Yeah.
people say that with any real kind of truth behind it. You know, it's like one of those throwaway comments like, oh yeah, I'm fine. Yeah. I got out of bed the wrong way, you know, that kind of thing. Are you really being yourself right now?
You know, there's a list of questions you can go through, like, and with yourself even. Am I thinking about things that don't matter?
Actually, most of us could just put our hand up and say, yeah, guilty.
You know, am I feeling pressure for something like that I have no business feeling pressure for? Like, can I just calm down here and just, like, where's this coming from? Why am I feeling pressure all of a sudden when no one's even like, you can feel like someone's pressuring you and they're not even in the room.
Yeah.
Because you feel like they expect you to do A, B, and C, and you've got all this pressure, when all you have to do when you feel that pressure is say, you know what, this is feeling like a little bit much for me. Maybe I can't make it, or I want to change my mind,
Yes.
but instead of changing our mind, we'll just like keep that pressure.
Yeah.
That's not self.
So one of the, like, if there was a checklist of things to be aware of that are red flags to show that you're not being self and need to rush off and get some space and center yourself, I'm guessing feeling pressure is one of them.
Feeling pressure, well, just basically discomfort of any kind that isn't, because your pants are too tight.
Yeah.
Like this sort of, and it's okay to tell somebody, that's a good chance if you're with the right person to say, you know what, all of a sudden I'm not feeling comfortable about this. I'm not sure what it's about.
Yeah.
It could open the conversation. Because it's not always cut and run.
Yeah.
So am I thinking about things that don't matter? Am I feeling pressure? Am I trying to sound like I'm certain, about this thing? If it's too much work to try to sound certain, then maybe it's a not self thing.
I've got some from which just popped up. That is, am I likable enough? You know, when I start thinking, oh, this person doesn't like this kind of thing, and when I start trying to, I guess, without, I never have really thought of myself as a manipulative person, but thinking in terms of how you can flex and change to be more likable or more pleasing, or you notice that somebody's all of a sudden gone cold on you, and in the back of your head, you're running around like a hamster in a hamster wheel going,
gotta hurry up and get that connection back. Yeah.
I'm gonna get that connection back really quickly. That's a sure sign of really, like thinking what you need to change and flex to make something work, which is a form of manipulation, isn't it?
Well, it's avoidance of pain.
There you go. There's another indication.
It's avoidance of pain, because you're like, it doesn't feel good when, I mean, it's like, I don't know why this is the thing where people, they don't mind not liking somebody else, but they don't like it when that same person doesn't like them. All of a sudden it changes it. It's
Yeah.
like they didn't like them. And maybe they said to a friend, oh, I don't like that person. And then they hear through the grapevine that that other person said that they didn't like them.
Yeah.
And, or you're in a relationship and you're going to break up with somebody, but they break up with you first, and you're like, what?
I recently heard of a gathering of people, and I felt, oh, I didn't get an invite. But the funny thing is, they're not people that I feel very comfortable with anyway.
Yeah.
And I have no idea why I was actually worried at all, because I might have even thought, actually, thanks for the invite, but I'm actually doing something.
Well, it's always
Why
nice
do
to
you
get
do
the
that?
invitation. Well, it's like if you're invited, then you're wanted,
Yeah.
and if you're not invited, so, all those places where we think if we're invited, we're wanted, and when we're not invited, we're not wanted. We need to like
Let
destroy and
go of that
uncreate all of that. Yeah,
thing.
like get rid of that. It doesn't mean that. It
Well,
doesn't
it really
mean.
doesn't. I suspect, the gathering just was based on certain subsets. And I don't think it was really thought about. I don't think I was not thought about, or, but
And I
isn't it
think
funny how we
everybody,
do that?
yeah, everybody has had this. I've had that where it was like somebody didn't invite me, and I was like, but maybe I said no the last 9 times.
Exactly. Yeah.
Eventually you do drop off the invite list if you keep saying no.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's, where were we just before before this? Because it was, it doesn't matter.
Well, there was loads that was coming out, so you're kind of listing the different things.
Like
Avoiding pain, scrabbling around for connection, anywhere
yeah.
where you're feeling discomfort.
Also, if you don't really have a sense of who you are, and when you're around these people, you feel like you know yourself even less. Where you feel a bit more scattered. I mean, these are just ideas. I mean, who am I? I don't know anything. I'm just like spouting things off here. I'm not an authority on it, but I just really feel like there are some key things, and that's one of them. Like I remember I had when you don't really have a direction of your own, and then you're around people, it can make you feel a lot more scattered. Especially when they have a direction, can make you feel worse about yourself. You're like, look how much direction they have, and I'm this aimless piece of garbage. I can't make up my mind.
That's actually a very subtle but really powerful thought, because I think because of my very nature, I feel a lot less certain, because I guess, like if you're trying to stay in a position of possibility, you don't necessarily create hard directions, but you kind of put a few out and then you see what comes back strong. And, so a lot of my life is spent taking steps that feel like the right next step to take. But it's not necessarily this cast iron plan. And so, yeah, you're right. When I'm in the company of people who are very strong on their direction and absolutely believe in their direction, suddenly my mind goes, I feel totally scattered. And especially when, which people do, and it's not really their fault or anything, but, people have quite, often quite formulaic conversation styles. And so sometimes, people say, oh, so what's, why is it that you choose to direct yourself in this way? This is unusual. Tell me about it. And then that's the big question that can't be answered. And I'm like, whoa, I'm out of here. But in the past, I've tried to
explain yourself.
Yeah.
Explain yourself.
And in the past, I've stood there like a goldfish, kind of opening my mouth, closing it, and just realizing that I don't really make much sense. But of course, I'm not going to make sense to people who have, probably finding a different response when people ask me to explain myself, like, explain, why do you do this? Why do you do that? Yeah, having a good strategy on that could be quite useful. It's an interesting point. It's definitely something I need to consider, because
Yeah.
then I end up thinking, okay, I need to avoid pain by avoiding people like that. That's not very healthy, is it?
There is, so like with the whole idea of, I think that a goal, I mean, you do have a goal. It's just it just, and I have a goal, but it might just be more of a broad, it's some people have to get everything written right down, like to mini goals, and then, you know, things like that. I do think that you do have to have sort of an aim. What's your aim? And then you allow for all the possibilities to show up. I like to let the possibilities show up for how I'm going to have that, and what I can, maybe I can receive some of that. Maybe I don't have to work like a little bunny for every little thing. Maybe some stuff can show up easy, and then some stuff I might have to do a little bit of work for.
Yeah.
So it does. The only time we feel sort of anxious or aimless is when we don't really have. Dan and I were discussing this last night after watching a couple of things, and it's like, so for example, like if we're going to go on a vacation and neither one of us have an idea of where we want to go, it's just this, like, you don't really get there, do you? You just you just keep talking about it, but you do have to have some idea.
Yeah.
And so, but when you're around other people and they have this all laid out, and then you don't, or like, then you get this, then you can make decisions that you don't even want, just to make it seem like you're going in a direction. And it's like, I've decided on something after, I'm like, why in hell did I say that I would go do that? I have no interest in that whatsoever. And the minute that you get in your own aura again, you realize that. So it's kind of like, being around other people does confuse us, especially if you're open, if you're a very open person. Because you can be with somebody else and they're talking about what they're doing, and you can think, oh, this is what I want to do. But wait till you get by yourself again, and then ask yourself again and see if it's the same answer.
That's very good. Because I mean, that's almost good advice to give a young teen, isn't it? A young adult.
Yeah,
because
you can.
They do go through a stage of being quite open, don't they, for a while, and suddenly seeing the world opening up for them. And
yeah, I mean, I've gotten in a lot of trouble.
I'm sure we could do a whole show on the trouble you and I have got ourselves into.
So here's the other thing I wrote down. So this is supposedly from Atticus. Okay, this quotation. Never go in search of love. Go in search of life, and life will find you the love you seek.
Did you hear Carl there? Did he come through on the mic there?
He did. It was perfect.
Do you hear that? You're perfect. That's really good.
So if we're not searching for love, if we're searching for life,
it will give you
then
everything
you're definitely going to be in the true self if you're searching for life. If you're searching for love, that's what's slamming us into the not self and doing all this stupid stuff.
Yeah, of course. When I first heard that that saying, that quote, I was imagining it in the search for love, like a romantic love. But that also goes with searching for love from your parents, from your sister, from your classmates, your workmates, your peers.
All of that. Anytime you're looking for approval.
Yes.
If we went out in life and we weren't looking for approval, if we were looking for life, and you know what sparks us and makes us feel creative, You don't need approval. An artist doesn't need approval to paint a painting. Just everybody thinks they go look at the painting and then critique it. The artist never asked, maybe even for anyone to critique it.
Yes.
It's like it's perfect to them for whatever they did. Any creation that you have. So yeah, I mean, if you're just creating, I imagine an artist would have a really difficult time being who they really are if they were thinking about, I got to paint what people like. I have to paint this thing because I need everybody to like it, versus what am I seeing?
I actually did that for a summer. Years ago, I lived in France, working on campsites and in tourism. And I used to paint and love painting. I used to really enjoy it. And a few people really liked these small little flower paintings I'd done. And then I'd made some cat paintings and people had liked them. And you know, I was like in my early 20s. I think I was actually probably about 19, in fact. And I thought, well, I could do some extra money. And so I started to recreate all these flipping flower pictures and cat pictures. And I didn't stop there. I borrowed a remorque, like a big trailer, and I would drag my trailer down to this bridge in a major city in France, because I actually tried to get a market stall and there was a really long waiting list. So I used to sit on the bridge with the African guys that were selling their sunglasses and the djembe drums. So I'd sit on the bridge with them and I'd have my easel, all my paintings out, and I did that for a whole summer. And I did exactly what you just described. You know, I stopped painting for myself and started painting for what was for what people wanted, and I hated it, and that's why I stopped. Also, I wasn't that talented. I was talented only enough to do those like small little pictures, but I couldn't have made a career from it anyway. It's a fun experience, you know.
Well, that sounds like a lot of fun, actually. And here's the thing, it doesn't just go with art, it goes with my business that I had. And I had a friend, she's like, oh, you need to put out some marketing videos. You know, you need to do some videos. So then I was like, oh, I need to do some videos. So then I would try to plan it all, and I would sit there, and I could not get that to come out in a way that and then one day I was there and I was like, oh, the lighting's just perfect in here. I feel good. I like the shirt I have on. I'm going to record a video. And I did it, and it was like, great. But if I had to think about it too much, then it wasn't even mine. That's when it becomes something that's not yours, right?
Absolutely.
So we're creating our life all the time. We're creating our relationships all the time. We're creating, you know, a marriage is a creation. It's under constant creation if it's a good one, you know, where it's like, and maybe people get a little lazy once in a while and they take each other for granted. Maybe you just need a little garter snap to get things back, you know. I do think all of this stuff, anytime something's uncomfortable, it's a sign. Just to kind of come back to yourself. It's a sign to come back to yourself. It really is. Get centered somehow, whatever it is for you, if it's swimming, if it's just being by yourself, if it's just maybe it's being in a crowd. You know, it's different for everybody. Whatever that thing is that brings you back to yourself, and then say, now, what would I really like? What would I really like to do here? If money wasn't an issue, if it didn't matter what other people thought of me, because honestly, if you're kind-hearted, you're not going to be, you know, committing crimes, let's say. It's not like it's like if it didn't matter what these people thought of me, then what would I choose? What would I like to do? And I think you'd be refreshingly surprised at how many people would actually be like, oh, good for you. I can't believe you waited this long. Or, you know, the ones that really have your on the list, that celebrate your successes. They
And
would
hold you
look,
accountable for
yeah,
when you get off track.
yeah, that they would look at that and say, you know, good for you. Like it's high time you did that. I'm happy for you, and really happy for you, because you can tell when somebody really isn't.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my goodness, Sarah, this has been amazing. Sorry, I'm having a big stretch.
Oh, that is a good stretch. I
That,
love
yeah,
that
it
dress.
was really. Oh, thank you.
And let me see if I wrote anything else down. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No,
Go
go
ahead.
on.
Lack of encouragement.
Mm.
We all need to be more encouraging to other people and ourselves.
Mm.
I think everybody's a bit down,
Mm.
and what's the point-ish,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And if there's something that's truly you, and be encouraging of yourself. So yes, this is like, say it. This is exactly what I want to do, and say it like, you know, with that you would for a friend that you wanted to encourage. We need to do that for ourselves and for our friends.
We really do.
And it is possible. It's challenging. But it is possible to hold on to your unique expression while blending in and supporting the people around you. Because that's where people are like, oh, it's not going to work. You know, if I'm me, then all hell's going to break loose. And maybe it will.
Yeah. And maybe it's helpful as well. Sometimes we do need to do that, I think.
But it is possible to just take some little steps, and just, you can blend in with others. It doesn't mean you have to go live on a mountain. I've tried it. Not the mountain thing so much, but just where it's like, I just want to get away from everybody.
Yeah.
And then I won't have to worry what they all think, right? Because I'll just remove myself. And that's a very lonely place.
Mm.
So it is possible. It's just, it can be a little bit difficult if you've lived your whole life, maybe being someone that you've now got a group of people around you who expect that from you. Now you want to take it away from them.
Oh. Once again, Sarah, thought-provoking, compassionate, fun. You're all of those. I love having you on the show with me. Thank you.
I wanted to tell you too that I am so grateful that I'm doing this with you, and and I'm doing this right now. Like, this is so easy because it's what I would like to do. And I will have more of this, more of this type of thing, like all those things that just feel like they're just fun to do.
Mm.
I mean, this is fun to be on here with you, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Well, I couldn't do it without you and the other amazing people that feel similarly. It's fantastic, and there is this little community sort of growing up around us, you know, coming up. So, you know, I just think it feels really quite magical, you know, that well, you know, talking about your like 3 things, it feels like there are people that are celebrating success. Like, we're all celebrating our success together. We're able to commiserate and also not let people off the hook. I really feel that, you know, when people are joining us and sharing things, it's very open and also very truthful. I think we're trying to get to the truth of things. And it feels like we're all rising up together. And I think that's really important. So, yeah, thank you. I'm so grateful for you.
Oh, the the whole thing is, it just feels really good, and it's high time that people started feeling good.
Yeah.
We can't control every little thing.
No.
And the reason that we're talking about self, or that I like to talk about this, isn't because I think everybody should be selfish. It's because that I think that we've all really gotten away from being who we really are. I mean, I can't speak for everybody, but I do feel like if we could all just get back to those parts of us that are creative and living, that a lot of things could change.
Yeah.
There'd be a big ripple effect, and that you would, in fact, be helping others, because it's contagious. It's contagious when your spark is there, like a spark. I mean, think about that. It is contagious, and it's the kind of thing that it is possible to help other people if you help yourself. It really does work that way.
Yeah. It really does.
And if you're leaving situations feeling bitter, or if you're feeling any of these negative emotions, like bitterness or whatever, it's not somebody else's fault. It's yours. It's literally where you're not creating something, where you're going into the not self and you're staying there. That's what that bitterness is, or frustration, or whatever. If there's something that isn't working, if you're leaving a situation, and you're angry, or whatever one of these emotions is, it's a sign that you're in the not self. It's got, maybe the other person is just helping you see it, we'll say. It's not their fault.
We've got an unidentified item in the bagging area. Look who's just come in just as we're wrapping up the show. Mr. M wants to join us.
Oh,
you have to put me on the other camera.
Oh, okay.
Can you put my microphone up while you're doing that?
Yeah.
Hello. Good morning. Hi,
listen to his
Sarah.
voice. Hello.
Hello. She's trying to get me on the camera now. But I'm very inspired by what you said.
How come you're not showing up either?
I don't know. No idea.
Strange old day.
More
Yeah,
mysterious with
you've done
more
an extra
mysterious with
camera.
his voice.
Have you done extra camera?
I have.
It
Keep
doesn't
talking.
matter.
Keep
Okay.
talking.
The thing you said about, or what I thought you said about how we are tolerant. This is how I received it anyway, because I've been thinking along similar lines. How low our expectations are for happiness. It's along those sort of lines. I don't know if that is what you were saying. We put up with too much that makes us unhappy. Perhaps we sell ourselves very short when it comes to well-being and happiness and joy in life. Is that the sort of gist that you were talking about?
Well, I think that if we're not feeling happy, we are a participant in that unhappiness. Like we're going in and being not self. I don't think you can really be yourself, and leave a situation not feeling either good about it or introspective about it, know. So I don't know if that's kind of what you're can you say it again, Carl? What
you're saying, I mean, to me, it reflects what I was thinking about yesterday, which is how low our expectations are as a culture, and that there's been a gradual acceptance of quite a low threshold of happiness in life. It's as though, with all these ideological challenges that have been going on to have people be a certain way. One overwhelming one, it occurs to me, is how we've legitimized, normalized unhappiness. How low our expectations are for having a joyful existence.
Yeah.
And just this whole sort of polarization of debate and encouraging people to think immediately takes people out of joy and into taking a position against each other. Are you laughing at my screenshot there? My angry
I
screen.
love it. It's perfect.
That's exactly how I feel right now. And you know, whilst there's been a move, if you like, in the way that the concern for the environment, the concern for others, it's like it's a dragging down of the human spirit over these last few decades, or certainly while I've been alive, I've seen this running down of this. How on the one hand we might have really high expectations for living a joyous life on earth, our birthright, what we all want in truth, right? I think, if we didn't, we wouldn't still be. We'd have all just done ourselves in and each other by now. But there is some overwhelming hope abides, joy abides. So there is a central spine of elevation and revelation and enlightenment and all these great things that we gravitate towards on one level. But in the world, a massive shitty downpour of dampening of that energy, or a shrouding of it. Depression and mental health, anxiety, all of these things have been normalized and are seen as things you manage, rather than saying, well, you're ill. The darkness has got you. It's not you. You're not to blame. And we've made it personal. So I think I was thinking of some of my relatives and loved ones. Darkness has claimed them.
Mm-hmm.
I might say they've got depressed, but actually darkness has claimed them. And we live in a world that kind of legitimizes that. Well, it's just something you have to manage. Well, fuck. No, maybe we don't. Maybe we could have an entirely different point of view angle on this.
I've heard it said before that darkness that's descended on people, or I don't even want to use the word depression, but that feeling. That it's something that is true that you won't acknowledge.
Yes.
And then it puts you in that state of, because there's nothing, if you won't acknowledge it, there's nothing that can be done. And it's this.
Can you say that again, Sarah?
Well, just that depression or darkness like that can sometimes be a truth that you're really aware of, but you won't acknowledge that it's the truth, and it can throw you into a depression. And also the high expectations, like that you were talking about, Carl, and how people have gotten really down. I think that's because we've been pulled out of our individuality. We have been pulled out of it. Sorry?
It's symptomatic, isn't it? So that these two forces are at work, aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
One is a world with low expectations.
Well, somebody has to be the hero. Somebody has to be the hero and say, when I say the hero, I'm saying that all of this stuff, and I feel a bit emotional about this because I've been judged for talking about individuals, if you can imagine. I've literally been judged for that, that I'm not thinking about, everything that's wrong. It's not that I'm not thinking about everything that's wrong. It's that I'm actually functional in that. Where does it start? I mean, I can talk about huge problems and never have to do a thing about them.
Yeah.
But if I talk about them, then I care.
Yes.
Or I can look inside of myself and say, everybody is down right now. And how can I look after myself and move that frequency up enough so that some other people will feel like they can do that too? Yeah. It's not always easy.
It's not. It is. It's like standing on your own shadow. I mean, literally, that's not an accident, is it? It is standing on your own shadow. And trying to find light in the dark. It is that. That is a lot.
And it's there. The light is in there. The light is in every single one of us. And there's all this stuff that takes place, and it will get you. It will absolutely get you if you don't dial that up and go into yourself and say, okay, I'm here. I have something to offer. And it's important that I offer it while I'm here. Otherwise, I'm just like throwing it all away. Do I want to pretend to be something else? Do I want to program my own body, or do I want my environment to do it for me?
Yeah, right. Yeah. And I've got, if I may, I've got another thought to add to that. I mean, it's, you know, I was talking to Tony Bryant yesterday, he was talking about fear porn. And there's like misery porn as well. You know, and I had a really sort of daring and uncomfortable thought yesterday that even empathy now has been glamorized into suffering. You know, it doesn't serve other people to feel bad about their suffering, because you end up, the logic of that is you end up with the whole world suffering. Let me suffer with you. It doesn't, and then it sounds really selfish and narcissistic. And that's a whole other conversation, isn't it? Like the demonization of the narcissist, you know, like, how can that person be happy while other people are unhappy? Bastard.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I think actually that's really important now. We've glamorized suffering for the last few decades. And if you're not sympathetic, compassionate, and empathic in the way it's been newly glamorized, you are a narcissist. It's like, that's a masterstroke of the miserable world, isn't it? To put people like that. It's like, it's important that some people are light and joyous, if only to be a beacon to other people who've fallen by the wayside and have the darkness fall upon them. And it's not their fault. I'm not blaming, you know, again, it would be like victim blaming, wouldn't it? If you're being horrible to all the depressed people. I'm not. In many ways, I'm deeply compassionate about depressed people, but in a different way. And I would say it doesn't help to get depressed with them. It really doesn't.
No, but what does help is to actually stop and say, I see you.
Yes, for sure.
I see you. That number 2, which is you commiserate with someone's failures or place or whatever where they're at, without letting them off the hook. So it is important to recognize, but it doesn't mean you have to be that. Like if you go to a funeral, it's like, are you allowed to smile?
No, don't, disrespectful.
Right. So it's the kind of thing that just because everybody else is doing it, it doesn't mean we need to do it. We need to stay in touch with people. We need to like see them.
And not be an
Well, and you can have empathy without going into a full-blown depression yourself, for crying out loud.
Quote of the day. Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. That's, I think that is possibly a relearning at the moment, isn't it? Because I really, it shocked me yesterday to understand the glamorization of suffering in our planet, because that doesn't serve anybody.
And what is true caring? What is true caring? Is true caring doing, is true caring, let's say somebody is feeling a certain way, is true caring feeling that way with them? Or is it actually saying, I see you, I see where you're at right now, and I can give you a little bit of, I want to hold space for you, or I can be this space for you, but you can't do it for like 10 days.
Right.
You know, you've got, even though I had this friend one time where I was like, okay, we each get 20 minutes where like I can unload all my crap and you just listen. And then I'll take a turn and I'll listen to your crap. And we move on. Yeah. So it's this thing where there's all this friggin' judgment around what you shouldn't be happy. You shouldn't be sad. You shouldn't be upset. You're, you know, all of this stuff where you shouldn't. Whereas if we would just come into who we are, we wouldn't even be paying attention to this crap.
Right, exactly, because we wouldn't be playing hide the shit, would we? Which is where you started this morning. The not self. If we keep having the not self hanging around but not acknowledging it, that is what knots us up into this not self knot of.
Yes. And Carl, the not self is always going to be there. We're never not going to be not self. Yeah. We're always going to be slipping into it.
That's very interesting. Talking about slipping into things,
Well,
we've slipped into this one. I would love, we've got 3 more shows before the end of the year. And next Friday show is going to be like our Christmas celebration. And all the previous people that have been on the show are invited to participate if they want to. I propose that maybe we talk about joy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Make it a joy special.
Yes. Yeah.
So we end this year on a joyful note.
We could we need to issue a warning though that people will be unashamedly joyful.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
If that's upsetting to anybody, we apologise in advance. But that's the world we're living in, isn't it? Sadly.
This is going to be the title. We're going to be unashamedly joyful. Okay.
Well, you have to be.
Yeah.
Well, look.
It's like unapologetically joyful show.
I don't know if I can manage that.
I mean that sounds great. Doing a show about joy, because it really is. It can be there, and you can be commiserating with someone in their crap for a few minutes, and you can still be joyful.
Yeah.
That's a skill, isn't it? I mean,
why don't we start with let's get our crap out the way anyway?
Yeah, I mean, the check-in is a good thing, isn't it, for that purpose? And it was so interesting.
Owen's saying he'd love that.
Yeah, we'll see you there, mate. You know, with doctors, you wouldn't expect a doctor to get ill with you, would you?
Oh, good point.
Can you imagine? You know, you go to a doctor with a serious illness, and they say, "Well, okay, for me to really understand you, I'm going to get ill with you." And die alongside you in a really terminal way. So, Jesus, Doc, no, we should both get well.
I think if we take responsibility for if we actually say, okay, I am responsible for some of my experience here. It can't always be everybody else.
Exactly.
Yes.
Right, I need to draw this to a close.
I keep doing this, don't I?
No, it's fine. I really enjoyed I loved the whole thing, and I like this last little section, which has really kind of gone deep, in a really, really beautiful and interesting way. However, I've got an Indian head massage, and I don't want to miss it.
God, that's going to be so good.
And I'm going to be very joyful when I'm having it. So I'm going to get rid of some of that tension in my face, hopefully.
Yes.
Sarah, you identified and said, woman, you've got to sort that out. So anyway, thank you to everybody that's joined us today. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. See you next week in the last 3 episodes. Please do put in your diary next Friday's show and come and share some joy with us. Thank you.
Well, you can come and be a miserable shit, can't you?
You can also be a miserable shit.
The context will be a joyful one in which that's fine. Yeah. Yes,
you can be miserably. You can be joyfully miserable if that's what you choose. That's also okay. But please do connect with us again. But anyway, Sarah, Carl, thank you once again, and hopefully we'll all see you real soon. Bye for now. Mwah.
Bye.